Meantime, we'll have the president later. We've got the commissioner right now, Adam Silver, his first All-Star game as a commissioner after more than 2 decades with the league, joining us now.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Let me say this. The welcome you received this morning at the Legends Brunch, I would call it uplifting, to say the least. As look at Shaq.
Only Shaq. You've lifted everybody in the world on every show.
No, you know what? Adam is a bright guy. Ever since I came into the league, Adam has been very, very hospitable towards me. Even when I got in trouble, did a lot of crazy things, got fined, Adam always has a smile on his face. And Adam, I just want to say, shalom, congratulations. No one deserves this job more than you, and I'm so proud of you. And I look forward to what you're going to do to the NBA in the next 20, 50 years.
Well, thank you, and that was unexpected and uplifting this morning.
You know what? I'm wondering what goes on in your mind during this weekend. You're first as the commissioner. Your dad, your brother in town, and you're addressing
not my dad, but my brother.
Your brother in town, and you're watching. This is the league's under your guidance at this point. How is it at all overwhelming?
Not quite overwhelming because I've been with the league for 22 years now, but it's, as they say, the longest distance in sports is the 12 inches between the assistant coach and the coach, so I'm feeling that now. It's incredible. I mean, for people to understand what's around this All-Star game, it used to be All-Star Sunday, then All-Star Weekend, then All-Star Week now. And I just spoke to the All-Stars a little while ago before I came out here, and the amount of things they now do in the community around the game. I mean, these guys, we've talked about a mid-season break. These guys need it because All-Star is not a break for them. I mean, they go from the moment they get here in terms of appearances in the community, things the league asks for them, things that their partners ask for them. Chris Paul spoke when Shaq received the Legend of the Game award today, and then Chris Paul spoke this morning at the Legends Brunch. It's nonstop. And so it's only a small portion of it reaches television, reaches the fans at home.
Adam, one of the things that, George Karl, one of the great coaches in NBA history, and I kind of agree with this. Have you thought about, number one, moving the start of the season back later so we wouldn't compete against college football and pro football? Because the year we had the lockout was the most viewed year ever in NBA. Have you considered starting the season around Christmas?
I'm not sure we could if we could go that far before starting all the way to Christmas, but we've looked at it, and we've looked at it with your bosses at Turner about what's the optimal time to play the schedule, so we'll continue to look at it. I mean, it may not be for national television the best property in November and December, but in terms of local television, in terms of attendance in the arenas, we're still very popular. So, but we're looking at everything.
The one thing you talked about from assistant coach to a head coach, players have a thing where it's different when you're playing against the starters than when you're a second unit guy. And now there's certain leadership things that you probably have to do differently. What are some of those responsibilities that you feel differently as a starter now or the commissioner of the league?
I think as the deputy commissioner, I got to say yes in almost every situation. And then say, I would do that, but David.
Right.
And so now I can't get away with that anymore. And so I got to deliver a lot more no's than I ever had to in the past. And I think it's not my nature to say no. It makes it a little bit more difficult. But I also feel the direct obligation towards the game. I mean, I think we all talked about that at the Legends Brunch this morning, to be there with some of the greatest legends, to be there as Bill Russell was honored, and along with Shaq and Julius and other greats, and to feel that responsibility as a steward of the game. And that's one thing I've talked a lot about, that it's not just about the NBA, it's about college, it's about youth basketball. I have to oversee all of that.
Okay, now, Shaq said it. You're a very nice man. I think you're going to be a great commissioner. But you're a very nice man. Commissioner Stern is a great commissioner and a really good guy also. But he'll kick your butt.
Stern man.
He's a Stern. He got the perfect name. How are you going to be able to adapt? Because it is like night and day. Because, man, he's had me in that office a couple times, and I wanted to cry. And it's no joke being in when you screw up. Yeah. And that's not in your nature. Is that probably going to be the biggest adjustment for you?
You're right, it probably will be. But everybody's got their own style. and David had his style and I have mine. I also think David inherited the game at a very different time. So when David became commissioner, the finals were on tape delay, and I think he had to be a little bit of a bully sometimes in order, on behalf of the league, in order to get done what was necessary. Now, this All-Star game is going to be seen in 215 countries, 47 languages, and so I don't think I have to approach it in the same way David did.
Okay.
On the other hand, you're right. I'm going to have to be tough sometimes.
In your role as the new commissioner, could you give us a brief description of how you're going to grow the game even more?
I think the enormous opportunity is through social media and through digital media. David didn't have these kinds of tools at his disposal. I mean, Shaq, you're a great example of it. I think you put Twitter on the map with some of the things you did. And when I look at now what our players and our teams are doing, what the league is doing, we now have a social media community on a global basis of 500 million people. 500 million people follow this game, not on television, but through social media. That's the opportunity.
Do you see a possibility, Adam, of changing the age restriction for entrance to the NBA?
Yeah, I do. That was one of the issues that when we were finishing up the collective bargaining agreement and compromised so we could all get back to work, we decided to park that issue along with a whole list of other so-called B-list issues. I still continue to believe we would be a better game with a 20-year-old minimum age instead of 19. The union, I've talked to the interim director, Ron Klempner, about it. I talked to Chris Paul about it, who's the president of the union. But until they have an executive director, a new executive director in place, there won't be a process for looking at those issues. I think it's in the interest of the current players. I've never quite understood why they don't think it's in their interest. It's a zero-sum game for every young player coming in. Obviously, another player goes out. It's the same number of jobs. And I think with more mature, more experienced players, we're going to have a better league. And I also think it would help the college game. And a better college game is going to be a better NBA as well.
If they've been there for 2 years,
right,
at minimum.
Yeah, if you talk about, again, digitally, what are some of the things that the league will do? Because it is an instant microwave society. I think we all came in when the league was baking. And now it's like everything is in a microwave when you have accessibility so quickly. What are the positives of that? And what are the negatives of that you have to be careful of?
I mean, the positive is it brings fans closer to the games. The negative is it brings fans closer to the games.
Hey, Shaq, why were you at the Legends banquet this morning?
Because I was anointed as a legend by my main man, Ernie. Yes, I was anointed, and everybody stood up. Dr. J stood up, Artist Gilmore stood up, Akeem Olajuwon stood up, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did not stand up, but that's okay.
They were Karl Malone and Bob Pettit were also honored. We had an 80th birthday celebration for Bill Russell. It was a magical morning. It really was, Adam. And Bill Russell had so many good things to say about this league. He talked about the three-legged stool of fans and owners and players and making sure that stays balanced.
And Bill also talked about the fact that it's a partnership between the league and the players, that it's not an adversarial relationship, that we are partners. And he said that was one of the things he realized early on as a player. And that's one of the things he commended David Stern for understanding that.
You know what, the one thing that I will say that in your 22 years that you've been into the league is your accessibility. And I know that you will continue the accessibility, which makes the players feel great, which makes the fans feel great, and makes the teams feel great, is to being able to say, I can have a 2-minute conversation with him, and it's going to be authentic.
Well, thank you.
Hey,
congratulations.
Thank you, Charles.
Here's to 30 great years.
Thank you, Ronaldo.
All righty.
Thanks, Shaq. Kenny, Charles.
Lashana Tova, brother. Lashana Tova.
The new commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, joining us here on TNT.